Chosen one, why are you still breathing when others have fallen silent? Why did you wake up this morning when statistically you shouldn't have? Why does your heart still beat with purpose when the world told you your time was over? Listen to me carefully, beloved. If you are hearing my voice right now in this exact moment, it is not by accident. You didn't stumble upon this message. You were summoned here by divine appointment, by sacred design. You've been through the refiner's fire, haven't you? The flames that should have consumed you, but didn't. The losses that should have broken you, but couldn't. The betrayals, the health scares, the financial devastation, the family fractures, they all came to destroy you. But here you are, still standing, still believing, still burning with holy fire. Do you know what that means? You've passed the test. God has been watching. Heaven has been taking notes. And now, He's ready to reveal everything. The why behind your pain, the purpose behind your perseverance, the glory behind your grief, that restlessness you feel in your spirit. That's not old age, beloved. That's divine urgency. That fire in your bones when everyone says you should be slowing down. That's the anointing of Moses at 80. Leading nations out of bondage. You survived because you're needed. You endured because you're chosen. You're still here because God's not finished with you yet. If this is already stirring something deep in your spirit, if your heart is pounding and you feel that familiar fire rising, don't hold it back. Type "I am chosen" in the comments right now. Let heaven and earth know you're still here, still fighting, still believing. Let your declaration shake the atmosphere. And before we go deeper into this sacred revelation, I want to thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel forgotten in their golden years, who wonder if their best days are behind them. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your wisdom, your time, your attention. You matter. Your story matters. If this message is awakening something in your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. Because what I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie the enemy whispered about your sunset years. The refiner's fire didn't destroy you, it revealed the gold within you. And God is about to show you exactly what He's been preparing you for all along. Your greatest chapter isn't behind you. It's about to begin. Stay with me, chosen one. Your breakthrough is speaking. Why did you have to bury your spouse of 50 years while others celebrated golden anniversaries? Why did your children turn their backs on the values you raised them with? Why did the retirement you planned for 30 years vanish in a market crash that wasn't even your fault? Listen to me, beloved. I know you've asked these questions in the midnight hours when sleep wouldn't come. I know you've stared at the ceiling wondering if God forgot your address. I know you've felt the crushing weight of disappointment when the American dream you worked so hard for crumbled in your weathered hands. But what if I told you that every tear you've shed, every sleepless night you've endured, every financial loss that left you choosing between medication and groceries, what if I told you it was all preparation for something so magnificent that heaven itself has been holding its breath waiting for this moment? You see, dear one, God doesn't train His most precious vessels in comfort. He trains them in the furnace. Look at Joseph, 17 years old, when his brothers threw him in that pit. 17 years of slavery and false accusations before he stood before Pharaoh. But when famine devastated the known world, who did God use to save nations? The man who understood suffering. The man who knew what it meant to lose everything and still trust. You've been in your own pit, haven't you? Maybe it was the doctor's office 3 years ago when they said the word cancer and suddenly your whole world shifted. Maybe it was watching your 401 Kelvin disappear in 2008 while Wall Street executives got bonuses. Maybe it was holding your grandchild for the first time, knowing your own child won't let you see them again because of political differences that somehow became more important than blood. David understood your pain. This giant-slaying king spent years hiding in caves, running from the very people he'd served. Can you imagine? The man God chose to lead Israel was forced to live like a fugitive. But in those caves, David wrote the Psalms that have comforted millions for thousands of years. His greatest ministry came from his greatest misery. Your misery wasn't meaningless either, chosen one. Those months when you couldn't afford to turn the heat above 65 degrees. You learned to depend on God's warmth. That Christmas, when the family gathering felt more like a battlefield than a celebration, you discovered that peace comes from within, not from circumstances. That morning you looked in the mirror and saw your father's wrinkled hands staring back at you. You realized that time is precious and every breath is a gift. But Job understood loss like few men ever have. In one day, he lost his livestock, his servants, his children, his health. His wife told him to curse God and die. His friends accused him of secret sin. This man went from being the wealthiest in the East to scraping his sores with broken pottery. Yet in his darkest hour, Job declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." And God restored Job double for his trouble. Not because Job was perfect, but because Job was proven. You've been proven too, dear one. Every betrayal that should have made you bitter, but instead made you better. Every financial setback that should have destroyed your faith, but instead deepened your dependence on the Almighty. Every health scare that should have filled you with fear, but instead reminded you that your days are in His hands. The tears weren't wasted. They were watering seeds for the season you are entering now. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before God called him to deliver Israel. 40 years of obscurity, tending sheep, probably wondering if his life had any meaning. He was 80 years old when the burning bush changed everything. 80. When the world says you're past your prime, God says you're just getting started. That fire you feel in your spirit, that's not nostalgia, beloved. That's not just wishful thinking about better days. That's the same fire that burned in Moses' bush. The presence of the Almighty preparing you for your greatest assignment. But why did it hurt so deeply? Why were you tested so severely when others seemed to coast through life? Because, chosen one, God doesn't test everyone the same way. He tests gold differently than He tests silver. And you are pure gold in His sight. Isaiah 54:17 declares with divine authority, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord." Every weapon, beloved, the divorce papers, the medical bills, the pink slip, the family estrangement, the friend who walked away when you needed them most, none of it prospered. You're still here, you're still standing, you're still believing. That heritage Isaiah speaks of, it's yours. Not because you were lucky, but because you were chosen. Not because you avoided the storm, but because you danced in the rain. The enemy thought those desert years would destroy you, but instead, they destroyed everything in you that wasn't of God. The pride that said you could handle life alone. The fear that whispered you weren't strong enough. The doubt that questioned whether God really cared. All of that was burned away in the refiner's fire, leaving only what's eternal, only what's unshakable, only what's anointed. But why did God choose this particular training for you? Why were your lessons so costly, so personal, so devastating? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see every single trial you've endured. Beloved, I need you to see something that will shake you to your core. Right now, as I speak these words, there's a courtroom session happening in the heavenly realm. The angels have leaned in. The scroll of your life has been unrolled before the throne, and the Father, the judge of all creation, has rendered His verdict over your existence. You passed, not barely, not by the skin of your teeth. You passed with excellence. I know what you're thinking. Pastor, you don't understand what I've been through. You don't know about the nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering if God had forgotten my address. You don't know about that heart attack at 67 that left me gasping for air, begging God for just one more sunrise. You don't know about burying my spouse after 43 years of marriage, standing at that graveside feeling like half my soul was lowered into the ground. Oh, but I do know. And more importantly, God knows. Every tear catalogued, every prayer heard, every moment you thought you were drowning, heaven was taking notes. You see, what you called surviving, heaven called succeeding. What you called barely making it, the Father called excellence under fire. That loneliness that wrapped around you like a cold blanket for months after your loss, that wasn't abandonment, that was your testing ground. Those nights when you prayed and heard nothing but silence echoing back, that wasn't God ignoring you, that was Him watching to see if you'd keep talking to Him anyway. And you did, didn't you? When your children moved 3 states away and visits became Christmas cards, when your body started betraying you, requiring pills you can't pronounce, and doctors who look young enough to be your grandchildren, when Social Security barely covered the rising cost of everything and you had to choose between medications and groceries, when friends started dropping away not from choice, but from that final sleep we all must face, through every single blow, you kept standing. You kept believing. You kept showing up to that little church on the corner, even when your arthritic hands could barely grip the steering wheel. Heaven saw it all. The Bible tells us in Psalm 23:4, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice it doesn't say if you walk through the valley. It says, even though, because God knew you would face valleys that would test every fiber of your faith. But here's what the enemy never told you while you were walking through those dark places. Every step was being measured. Every prayer was being weighed. Every act of faith, when faith felt foolish, was being recorded in heaven's eternal ledger. The devil whispered, "You're barely hanging on." But God declared, "They're demonstrating extraordinary endurance." The world said, "Your best days are behind you." But heaven announced, "Their finest hour is approaching." You thought you were just trying to survive until Jesus comes back or calls you home. But God was putting you through the final stages of preparation for something so magnificent that if He revealed it too early, it would have overwhelmed you. That depression that tried to pull you under, you defeated it with praise. That fear that attempted to paralyze you, you conquered it with one more step of faith. That bitterness that could have consumed you after life's cruel betrayals, you chose forgiveness instead. Do you understand what you've accomplished? You've done what multitudes half your age couldn't do. You've maintained your faith when everything visible contradicted God's promises. You've kept loving when love was unreturned. You've kept giving when your resources ran thin. You've kept believing when belief required supernatural strength. In heaven's eyes, you didn't just pass the test, you aced it. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Notice that word future, not past glory but future. At 70, 80, 90 years old, God is still talking about your future. If you've ever felt like you barely made it through, but somehow you're still standing, still breathing, still believing, type "I pass it" in the comments right now. Let heaven hear your declaration. Let the enemy know his attempts to destroy you have failed spectacularly. Because here's what's about to blow your mind, chosen one. Passing the test wasn't the end of your story, it was the commencement ceremony. All those years of preparation, refinement, and testing, they were God's intensive training program, preparing you for an assignment so significant that everything you've experienced up to this point will make perfect sense. You thought you were in the final chapter of your life, but heaven is about to reveal that you've just completed your education, and now it's time for your real work to begin. What is that work? What has God been preparing you for all these decades? The answer will change everything you thought you knew about your golden years. Beloved, the curtain is being pulled back. What I'm about to reveal will shatter every misconception you've carried about your golden years. You thought you were winding down, but God says you're just warming up. Listen carefully. The enemy has been whispering lies to you for decades. You're too old, your time has passed, your best days are behind you. But that voice, That's not your Father speaking. That's the adversary, terrified of what God is about to unleash through you. Here's the first revelation that will rock your world. You are not ordinary. Ephesians 2:10 declares, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Handiwork, not mass-produced, not assembly line. Handiwork. The Greek word is poema, a masterpiece, a work of art. You are God's personal masterpiece, carved with intention, sculpted with purpose. But here's what the church never told you. Masterpieces aren't created for storage rooms, they're created for display. And at 70, 80, 90 years old, you're not being put away. You're being unveiled. Think about it. When did Moses receive his greatest calling? At 80 years old, standing before a burning bush, when everyone would have said he was past his prime. When did Abraham father the promise? At 100 years old, when his body was as good as dead. When did Anna the prophetess finally see the Messiah? At 84 years old, after decades of waiting in the temple. Your age isn't disqualification, it's divine timing. But there's more, much more. You carry spiritual authority. This isn't feel-good theology. This is spiritual warfare reality. Luke 10:19 says, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy." Authority. Present tense, active power. You think because your hair is gray and your joints ache that your spiritual weapons have dulled? The opposite is true. Every trial you've survived has sharpened your discernment. Every loss you've endured has deepened your compassion. Every betrayal you've overcome has strengthened your authority. You carry the power to break generational curses that have plagued your family for decades. You have the authority to speak healing over illnesses that doctors call terminal. You can shift the atmosphere of any room you enter because you've been through hell and came out carrying heaven's fire. But why now? Why is God revealing this to you at this stage of life? Because you've been in the refiner's fire for decades, and now the metal has been purified. The dross has been burned away. What remains isn't weakness. What remains is a weapon of light, forged in the furnace of experience, tempered by tears, sharpened by suffering. Your grandchildren think you're just grandma or grandpa. Your neighbors see you as another senior citizen, but heaven sees you as a spiritual warrior who's finally reached full battle readiness. And here's the revelation that will change everything. You still have an assignment. God didn't keep you alive this long to be a spectator. While others your age are focused on retirement plans and medical appointments, God is whispering assignments in your ear. Divine missions that only someone with your specific combination of wisdom, experience, and spiritual authority can fulfill. Maybe it's that prodigal child who needs your prayers to break through their addiction. Maybe it's a neighbor drowning in depression who needs to see hope walking on two legs. Maybe it's a ministry that needs your decades of life experience to guide the next generation. You think you're too old to make a difference. Mother Teresa was still rescuing orphans in her 80s. Billy Graham was still preaching crusades past 90. Corrie ten Boom was traveling the world, sharing her testimony well into her 80s. Your assignment isn't behind you, it's been waiting for you to become ready for it. But here's what's going to shock you to your core. Your test wasn't designed to break you, it was designed to unlock you. Every heartbreak was a key. Every disappointment was a combination to the safe. Every tear you cried in secret was another tumbler falling into place. And now God is opening the vault and revealing the spiritual treasure He's been protecting inside you all along. You are not a casualty of life's battles. You are a weapon forged in life's furnace. The refiner's fire didn't destroy you. It revealed what you're truly made of. And what you're made of is pure spiritual gold, shaped into an instrument of divine purpose that can cut through darkness like a laser through paper. This is why you survived the heart attack when others didn't. This is why you overcame the cancer that killed your friends. This is why you're still standing when statistics said you should have fallen. You weren't spared by luck, you were preserved by purpose. God is revealing you, chosen one, not who you were, not who you used to be, who you are. Right now, in this moment, a spiritual force to be reckoned with, a divine weapon loaded with decades of wisdom and aimed at the enemy's strongholds. The question isn't whether you're too old. The question is, are you ready to step into the fullness of who God created you to be? Say it aloud right now. God is revealing me. Because what comes next will require every ounce of spiritual authority you've spent a lifetime accumulating. Beloved, you've been living in survival mode for so long. You forgot what abundance feels like. You've been so focused on making it through another day, another doctor's visit, another sleepless night worrying about your grandchildren, that you forgot God's original plan for your life wasn't just survival, it was overflow. Listen to me carefully. The season you're entering isn't about getting by, it's about getting blessed. It's not about having enough, it's about having more than enough. It's not about scraping together your next meal. It's about setting tables for others to feast. Jeremiah 29:11 wasn't written for young people starting their careers. It was written for you, right now. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. Did you hear that? A future, not a past you're desperately clinging to. A future that's brighter than anything behind you. You've been through the test. You've proven your faithfulness when Social Security wasn't enough. You've shown your trust when the doctor's report was grim. You've demonstrated your loyalty when your own children forgot to call. And now God is about to show you what He does for those who pass the test. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you are sitting there thinking, Pastor, my best days are behind me. I'm 75, 80, 85 years old. What overflow could possibly be coming? Let me tell you about Moses. 80 years old when God called him to deliver a nation. 80. When most people are settling into retirement homes, Moses was stepping into his greatest assignment. When the world said he was too old, God said he was just getting started. You think your age disqualifies you from overflow? You think your wrinkles mean God's finished with you? Let me shock you with truth. Your gray hair isn't a sign of ending, it's a crown of wisdom. Your age spots aren't marks of decay, they're medals of endurance. Your slower walk isn't weakness, it's the steady pace of someone who knows where they're going. Malachi 3:10 promises something so outrageous. God Himself challenges you to test Him. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Floodgates, not trickles, not drops, floodgates. You're not stepping into a gentle shower of blessings. You're stepping into a tsunami of God's goodness that will sweep away every limitation the world placed on your golden years. Your finances, they're about to be restored. That savings account the recession wiped out, God's about to multiply it back. Those medical bills that drained your retirement, Heaven's accounting department is issuing a refund. The inheritance you thought you'd never leave your grandchildren, it's being prepared in heavenly vaults right now. Your body, it's about to be strengthened. Those joints that ache every morning, they're about to move with supernatural flexibility. That energy you thought was gone forever, it's about to return with compound interest. That diagnosis the doctor said was permanent, God's about to make it past tense. Your children, your grandchildren, they're about to be touched by the power of your prayers. That prodigal child who hasn't called in years, they're about to come home. Those grandchildren walking in darkness, your intercession is about to light their path. The family that's been fractured, it's about to be restored with divine superglue. Think about Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, abused, rejected, told she was unfit for television. But at 50, 60, 70, she became more influential than she ever was in her youth. Tyler Perry, homeless at 28, sleeping in his car, but his greatest success came after his struggles, not before them. Consider Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, Released at 71 years old, the world said his life was over. But his greatest impact, becoming president, healing a nation, happened in his 70s and 80s. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company at 30, but his revolutionary comeback happened later in life, creating products that changed the world. These aren't accidents. These are previews of what God does with tested vessels. Your cup isn't just going to be filled, beloved. It's going to overflow. Psalm 23:5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows." Not drips, not spills. Overflows. You're not stepping into trickles. You're stepping into floods. You're not walking into modest improvements. You're marching into miraculous transformations. You're not receiving just enough to get by. You're inheriting more than enough to give away. This is not survival season, chosen one. This is overflow season. You passed the test when you stayed faithful through the valleys. You proved your character when you praised him through the pain. You demonstrated your trust when you tithed from your social security check. Now God is about to show you what overflow looks like in your 80s, what abundance means in your 90s, what supernatural favor feels like when the world counts you out but heaven counts you in. If you're ready for overflow, if you're tired of barely making it and ready to start making impact, declare it right now. Type it in the comments with boldness. My cup runs over. Let your faith shake the atmosphere. Let your declaration move mountains. Because what's coming next will explain exactly how this overflow begins to manifest, and why everything you've experienced has been preparing you for this exact moment in time. Beloved, we've traveled far together in these moments. You've seen the truth of your testing, felt the fire of your refining, understood the depth of your calling. But now comes the revelation that will shake you to your very core. You think this journey was about you, don't you? You think God put you through those sleepless nights, those financial struggles, those health battles, those family heartaches just to strengthen you. But that's only half the story. Here's what God is revealing in this sacred hour. You didn't just pass the test for yourself. You passed it for everyone connected to you. Every tear you cried in secret, every prayer you whispered at 3 a.m., every time you chose faith over fear, it wasn't just shaping your destiny, it was securing theirs. Do you understand what this means? Your grandchildren you may never meet are going to walk in freedom because you refuse to quit. Your great-grandchildren will inherit blessings because you stood your ground when hell came against you. Your obedience today is planting trees they'll sit under 50 years from now. Think about Abraham. When he raised that knife over Isaac, trembling with faith and terror, he wasn't just being tested, he was securing a covenant that would bless every nation on earth. Genesis 22:18 says, "Through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." Abraham had no idea that his moment of ultimate surrender would echo through eternity, that every believer who ever lived would call him Father, that Jesus himself would be called the Son of Abraham. Your moment of surrender, whatever it was, is echoing too. When Esther stood before the king, risking her life to save her people, she wasn't just being brave, she was securing the survival of an entire generation. Esther 4:14 reminds us, "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" But here's what they don't tell you about Esther's story. She was an orphan, raised by her cousin, no royal blood, no special training, just like you, beloved, just like you. Yet her courage in that one moment saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Lives she would never know, families she would never meet, children who would grow up free because she refused to stay silent. What if your refusal to give up is saving someone right now? What if your decision to keep believing is the reason your grandson finds faith? What if your midnight prayers are the shield protecting your daughter from making the wrong choice? David wrote Psalms in caves while running for his life. He had no idea that 3,000 years later, people would still be singing his words, that his songs would comfort millions in hospital rooms, strengthen armies before battle, and give voice to hearts too broken to speak. Psalm 23 wasn't written for a congregation, It was written in desperation, in hiding, in fear. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Those words came from a man who had lost everything except his faith. Your words matter too. The prayers you pray over your family, the wisdom you speak into young lives, the testimony you share about God's faithfulness. They're creating ripples that will reach shores you'll never see. But here's the shocking truth that's going to change everything. God reveals not only who you are, but who you're raising up. You are not just surviving these golden years. You are leaving a divine inheritance. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, you taught someone how to love. Every time you trusted God in the storm, you showed someone how to have faith. Every time you got back up after falling, you proved that quitting is not an option. You think you're just an elderly person trying to make it through each day. But God sees a legacy builder, a generational curse breaker, a covenant keeper. That restlessness in your spirit, it's not because your work is done, it's because your real work is just beginning. The wisdom you've gained, the faith you've forged, the character you've built, it's all been preparation for this moment when God uses you to change the trajectory of your entire family line. Moses was 80 when God called him to lead Israel out of Egypt. 80. The age when most people are thinking about retirement, Moses was just getting started on his greatest assignment. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain," Joshua 14:12. While others his age were settling into rockers, Caleb was claiming territories. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. The gray in your hair isn't a sign of decline, it's a crown of wisdom. The lines on your face aren't marks of time, they're etchings of experience that the next generation desperately needs. Right now, somewhere in your family, in your community, someone is watching you. They're watching how you handle disappointment, how you treat people who've hurt you, how you respond when life doesn't go as planned, how you love God even when He feels silent. Your life is their sermon. Your choices are their classroom. Your faith is their foundation. So when you pray tonight, remember, those words are traveling through generations. When you choose joy instead of complaining, you're teaching great-grandchildren you'll never meet how to find light in darkness. When you trust God's timing instead of forcing your own, you're showing them how to walk by faith. Your prayers outlive you, beloved. Long after your voice goes silent on earth, heaven still hears the echo of your intercession over your bloodline. Your legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you build ahead. It's not about the money in your bank account or the property in your name. It's about the faith in their hearts, the character in their choices, the destiny in their DNA. If you believe your legacy is still unfolding, if you know your story isn't over, if you feel that fire rising in your spirit, declare it right now. Write in the comments, "My story isn't over." Because, beloved, it's not. Your greatest chapter is still being written, and everyone connected to you is about to benefit from what God is doing through you. The test is over. You passed. Now the real assignment begins. Dear chosen one, let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. There's been a war raging over your life for decades. A calculated, vicious assault designed to break you before your appointed time. And you had no idea how close you came to being destroyed. The devil thought he had you figured out. He studied your weaknesses, mapped your vulnerabilities, and unleashed hell itself against you. Remember that diagnosis that came out of nowhere? That wasn't random. The betrayal from someone you trusted with your heart? That was orchestrated. The financial collapse that nearly buried you? Strategic warfare. The loneliness that crept in like a thief in the night? Spiritual assault. He whispered lies in the darkness of your bedroom. You're too old. You're forgotten. Your children don't need you. Your spouse doesn't see you anymore. God has moved on to younger, stronger vessels. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. Here's what made him tremble with rage as he watched his master plan crumble before his very eyes. He underestimated the one who walks with you. You see, beloved, every storm he sent was meant to drown you. But God turned your trials into training. Every betrayal was meant to isolate you. but God used it to purify your circle. Every health scare was meant to terrify you, but God transformed it into a testimony of His healing power. The devil threw everything he had at you because he could see what was coming. He could see the anointing that was about to be released in your later years. He could see the influence you would have. He could see the legacy you would leave. So he tried to take you out before your greatest season could begin. Isaiah 54:17 thunders across the centuries. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Do you hear that? No weapon. Not the weapon of sickness, not the weapon of poverty, not the weapon of abandonment, not the weapon of fear. Every single assault launched against you was destined to fail from the moment it was conceived. Think about it. You're still here. After the heart attack that should have killed you, after the divorce that should have destroyed you, after the depression that should have consumed you, after the financial ruin that should have buried you. You're still standing, you're still breathing, you're still believing. That's not luck, dear one. That's divine protection in action. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a massive storm at sea, waves the size of buildings crashing down, lightning splitting the sky like God's own fury, wind howling like the voices of demons unleashed. Ships all around you are being torn apart, swallowed whole by the violence of the water. But there you are, in your vessel, untouched, unmoved. While chaos reigns around you, you float in supernatural peace. The storm isn't avoiding you, it's hitting you with everything it has. But your anchor holds, your foundation remains solid, your captain never left the wheel. The enemy looks at you now and realizes his fatal miscalculation. He thought your trials would reveal your weakness. Instead, they revealed your anchor. And that anchor, the unshakable love of Almighty God, held firm through every assault. Do you know what makes the devil sick to his stomach? It's not your perfection, it's your perseverance. It's not your strength, it's your surrender to the one who is strength. It's not your ability to avoid the storm, it's your refusal to be destroyed by it. Every morning you woke up was a defeat for darkness. Every prayer you whispered through tears was a declaration of war against hell. Every time you chose faith over fear, you drove another nail into the coffin of the enemy's plans. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Chosen one, the storm that was meant to destroy you actually prepared you for your greatest assignment. The pressure that should have crushed you forged you into an unstoppable force. The isolation that should have broken you connected you more intimately with the voice of God than ever before. The devil's greatest weapon became God's greatest tool. Your pain became your platform. Your test became your testimony. Your mess became your message. Right now, as I speak these words, the enemy is in full retreat. He's watching you realize the truth about who you are and what you've survived, and he knows his time is up. The very person he tried to silence is about to speak with unprecedented authority. The vessel he tried to shatter is about to pour out rivers of living water. You didn't just survive the storm, beloved. You learned to dance in the rain. You didn't just endure the fire. You came out refined like pure gold. You didn't just weather the assault. You emerged as a warrior with scars that tell stories of victory. The enemy's plan failed spectacularly. Every weapon he formed fell broken at your feet. Every scheme he devised backfired into blessing. Every trap he set became a stepping stone to your destiny. If you really know that the enemy tried everything in his arsenal and failed miserably, if you can feel the truth of this burning in your spirit right now, then declare it with holy boldness. My anchor held. Type it in the comments, shout it in your living room, whisper it through tears of gratitude. Let heaven and hell know that you recognize the miraculous truth of your survival. But here's what the enemy fears most about what's coming next. Listen closely, beloved. What I'm about to reveal will explain everything, every rejection, every misunderstanding, every moment you felt like you didn't belong. You carry a mark, not on your skin, on your spirit. Heaven recognizes it instantly. Hell trembles at its very presence. And you've felt it your entire life, haven't you? That sense of being different, of being misunderstood, of being set apart when all you wanted was to fit in. Dear chosen one, what the world called rejection was actually recognition. What felt like isolation was divine protection. What seemed like being overlooked was God hiding you until your appointed time. Think about this. Why do you suppose certain people have always felt uncomfortable around you? Why do conversations change when you walk into a room? Why do some folks seem to avoid you without reason, while others are inexplicably drawn to your presence? It's not your personality, it's not your age, it's not something you did wrong, it's the mark. The Bible is filled with men and women who carried this same spiritual signature. Gideon was hiding in a winepress, terrified and defeated, when the angel of the Lord appeared and called him a mighty warrior. Can you imagine? Here's a man cowering in fear, and heaven sees a conqueror. Why? Because of the mark God had placed on his spirit before he was born. David was so overlooked by his own family that when the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, his father Jesse didn't even bother to call David in from the fields. 7 sons paraded before the prophet, and God rejected them all. There remains yet the youngest, Jesse finally admitted, almost embarrassed. He's keeping the sheep. But God had marked David as king while he was still a shepherd boy nobody thought to mention. And Esther, a Jewish orphan girl, hidden in plain sight in a foreign palace, carrying within her spirit the mark of a deliverer. For years, nobody knew. She kept her identity secret, living quietly, seemingly insignificant. But when the moment came when her people faced annihilation, that mark activated, and she became the salvation of an entire nation. You see, this mark is like a royal seal stamped in wax, invisible to the naked eye until the light hits it just right. And beloved, your light is beginning to shine. After decades of waiting, of wondering, of feeling like maybe you heard God wrong, the light is hitting your seal, and the mark is becoming visible. This is why you survived when others didn't. This is why you endured heartbreaks that would have shattered weaker souls. This is why you walked through valleys of death and came out singing. This is why you're still here, still believing, still burning with holy fire. At an age when most people have given up, you were marked before birth, before your first breath, before your first heartbeat, before your parents even knew you were coming. God stamped his seal on your spirit. And that mark, it cannot be erased. Not by time, not by trauma, not by the enemy's schemes, not by your own mistakes. But here's what will shock you: the enemy has always known about your mark. He's seen it from day one. That's why your life has been harder than most. That's why you've faced attacks that seem disproportionate to your circumstances. The devil doesn't waste his ammunition on ordinary people. He reserves his fiercest battles for those who carry the mark of divine purpose. Every time you wanted to quit but couldn't, that was the mark compelling you forward. Every time you felt an unexplainable peace in the middle of chaos, that was the mark activating heaven's protection over your life. Every time someone looked at you and said, "There's something different about you," they were seeing the mark, even if they couldn't name it. And now, in these golden years that the world wants to call your sunset, God is saying something that will revolutionize your understanding. Your mark isn't fading, it's intensifying. Like a vintage wine that gets better with age, your spiritual authority is reaching its peak potency. The wisdom you've gained, the faith you've proven, the character you've developed, it's all been preparing you for this moment when your mark shines brightest. Moses didn't deliver Israel until he was 80. Anna the prophetess didn't recognize the Messiah until she was elderly. Caleb conquered giants at 85 years old. Your mark doesn't have an expiration date, beloved. It has an activation date, and that date is now. The mark explains why you've never fit into the world's mold, why you've always marched to a different drummer, why your values seemed old-fashioned to some and revolutionary to others. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. You weren't marked for comfort. You were marked for conquest. If you believe, if you know in the depths of your spirit that God stamped his royal seal on you before time began, if you recognize that every trial was preparing you to carry this mark with authority, If you're ready to stop hiding what heaven has always seen, then declare it. Type "I am" marked in the comments. Let the atmosphere shift. Let heaven witness your recognition. Let hell hear your declaration, because what comes next will require you to fully embrace what you've carried all along. The mark isn't just for identification, it's for activation, and your time of activation has arrived. Listen to me, beloved. Do you hear that sound? That low rumbling beneath your feet? That trembling in the atmosphere around you? The walls are shaking. The walls that have surrounded your breakthrough for decades, they're beginning to crack. You've been walking around your Jericho for years, haven't you? Round and round the same mountain, the same financial struggles, the same health battles, the same family dysfunction, the same closed doors. Round and round, wondering when God would finally show up, wondering if he'd forgotten the promises he whispered to your heart when you were younger. But chosen one, what if I told you that every lap around that mountain wasn't wasted time? What if every year of waiting, every season of seeming silence, every moment when you felt like giving up, what if it was all part of God's perfect countdown? The children of Israel marched around Jericho for 6 days, 6 long days of walking in circles while their enemies mocked them from the walls. "Look at these old fools," they laughed, "walking around our fortress like it's going to make a difference." But on the 7th day, on the 7th day, everything changed. You are standing in your 7th day right now. The walls are trembling. Can you feel it? The walls are trembling. That impossible medical diagnosis that the doctors said would end you. The walls around it are trembling. That financial mountain that's been blocking your view for 30 years. The walls are trembling. That prodigal child who broke your heart and walked away from everything you taught them. The walls around their rebellion are trembling. The walls are trembling because you've completed the required circuits. You've proven your faithfulness in the wilderness. You've demonstrated your loyalty when nobody was watching. You've worshipped God in the middle of your pain, praised him through your tears, and declared his goodness even when circumstances screamed otherwise. But why now? Why is this your 7th day at 70, 80, even 90 years old? Because God needed you refined. He needed you tested. He needed you purified of every ounce of self-reliance, every trace of pride, every whisper of doubt about his faithfulness. Think about it. Moses was 80 when God called him to his greatest assignment. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Anna the prophetess was 84 when she recognized the Messiah. Your age isn't disqualifying you, it's positioning you. The walls are trembling. The walls are trembling. You feel it, don't you? That supernatural stirring in your spirit that you haven't felt in years. That divine restlessness that's keeping you awake at night. That holy expectation that something big is about to shift in your favor. It's like standing next to a dam that's about to burst. You can hear the water pressing against the concrete. You can see the hairline cracks spreading across the surface. You know that any moment now, the pressure is going to overcome the resistance, and everything that's been held back is going to come rushing forward with unstoppable force. That's where you are right now, chosen one. Everything God has been storing up for you, every blessing, every breakthrough, every miracle, it's all pressing against the walls of delay. And those walls cannot hold much longer. But here's what Joshua discovered at Jericho. The walls don't fall from marching alone. They fall from shouting. They fall from declaring. They fall from one final, earth-shaking act of faith that announces to heaven and hell, I am not backing down. I am not giving up. This is my inheritance, and I'm taking it now. The walls are trembling. The walls are trembling. Every medication you've taken, every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've cried, every sleepless night you've endured, it's all been building pressure behind the dam. And now the concrete is cracking, the foundation is shifting. The walls that seemed so permanent, so immovable, so absolutely final, they're about to come down with a sound that will be heard for generations. Your children will tell their children about the day Grandma's walls fell down. Your doctors will scratch their heads trying to explain your test results. Your bank account will reflect miracles that have no natural explanation. Your family will gather around you asking, "What happened? How did everything change so fast?" And you'll tell them, "I reached my 7th day." The enemy thought time was on his side. He thought the longer you waited, the weaker your faith would become. He counted on your age to make you passive, your weariness to make you quit, your past disappointments to make you doubt God's promises. But he miscalculated. He forgot that champions aren't made in their 20s, they're revealed in their 70s. He forgot that the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. He forgot that God's promises don't have expiration dates. The walls are trembling. The walls are trembling. Right now, as you're listening to my voice, forces are moving in the spiritual realm. Angels are taking their positions. Heaven is holding its breath. The very atmosphere around your situation is shifting, crackling with supernatural electricity. All it takes is one more shout, one more declaration, one more act of radical faith that announces to every demon, every circumstance, every impossibility, "My God is greater than my giants." This is your Joshua moment. This is your Red Sea parting. This is your valley of dry bones coming to life. The same God who stopped the sun for Joshua, who parted the waters for Moses, who raised Lazarus for Jesus, that same God is about to do something in your life that will defy every natural law. One more shout and the walls fall. One more declaration and the breakthrough comes. One more act of faith and your miracle manifests. The countdown is over. The 7th day is here. The walls are not just trembling, they're about to fall. Are you ready to shout? You know what breaks my heart? Walking through hospitals and seeing believers, God's chosen ones, clutching medical reports like death sentences, sitting in financial counselors' offices, drowning in debt at 75 years old, staring at empty chairs where children once sat before pride and pain drove them away. Dear one, listen to me. Those medical reports, they're about to become testimonies. Those financial chains, they're about to shatter like glass. Those prodigal children, heaven is orchestrating their return right now. Because you didn't just survive the test, you graduated to a level most will never see. And God is about to release the supernatural overflow. Jeremiah 29, verse 11, isn't just a pretty verse on a coffee mug. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That word prosper, in Hebrew, it means to advance, to break through, to surge forward with unstoppable force. At your age? Absolutely at your age. Think about this logically. You've walked through decades of disappointment. You've buried dreams. You've watched younger people get the promotions, the healing, the breakthroughs. You've prayed prayers that seem to bounce off the ceiling for 20, 30, even 40 years. But what if, stay with me, what if all that waiting was God accumulating your blessing? What if every delayed answer was interest compounding in heaven's bank? What if your breakthrough had to wait until now, because anything earlier would have been too small for what he's planned? Abraham didn't receive Isaac until he was 100 years old. Moses didn't lead the Exodus until 80. Anna, the prophetess, was 84 when she held the Messiah in her arms. Your season isn't over. It's just beginning. Malachi 3 verse 10. God himself issues this challenge. "Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." Floodgates, not drip by drip, not barely enough to survive. Floodgates. Picture this with me. You've been carrying a cracked jar your whole life. Sometimes it held a little water. Sometimes it ran completely dry. You've learned to live with just enough, never quite full, always managing scarcity. But chosen one, God is about to turn that cracked jar into a vessel of supernatural overflow. Not just fixing the cracks, transforming the entire container into something that defies natural law. That oil won't stop flowing, ever. When that medical report comes back clear, and it will, doctors will scratch their heads. When that social security check is suddenly enough, and more than enough, Financial advisors will be baffled. When that child calls you crying, asking for forgiveness after years of silence, you'll know heaven moved. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about supernatural intervention. Remember the widow of Zarephath. 1 jar of oil, 1 handful of flour, certain death staring her in the face. But when she obeyed the prophet's word, that oil multiplied. It didn't just last through the famine, it overflowed, providing for her household and the man of God. That's your story now. Your little oil, your retirement fund, your fixed income, your limited resources, it's about to multiply beyond natural explanation. But here's where it gets supernatural. Luke 6, verse 38. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. Pressed down, that's maximum capacity. Shaken together, that's divine organization. Running over, that's supernatural surplus. Your cup isn't just getting full, beloved. It's flooding the table. It's spilling onto the floor. It's becoming a fountain that blesses everyone around you. That grandchild you've been praying for. That healing you've been believing for. That financial breakthrough that seemed impossible on a fixed income. That restoration in your family that pride destroyed years ago. Stop thinking barely enough. Stop accepting just getting by. Stop settling for survival mode. This is overflow season. This is pressed down, shaken together, running over season. This is the season when God says, "You've been faithful with little. Now I'm going to trust you with much." When the children of Israel left Egypt, they didn't leave empty-handed. They left with the wealth of the nation. 430 years of unpaid wages, God made their oppressors pay them back with interest. How long have you been faithful? How many years have you served, given, believed, when it looked like nothing was happening? Your Egypt season is over. Your exodus has begun. And you're not leaving empty-handed. That medical breakthrough that doctors call impossible, that's your Red Sea parting. That financial miracle that makes no sense on paper, that's your manna from heaven. That family restoration that seemed permanently broken, that's your Jordan River crossing. The overflow isn't coming. It's here. It's activated. It's moving toward you at supernatural speed. Your cup isn't just full anymore, chosen one. It's flooding the table, spilling onto the floor, becoming a river that waters everything in your path. If you're ready for this supernatural overflow, if you're ready to stop surviving and start thriving, if you're ready for pressed down, shaken together, running over, then declare it right now. Don't whisper it. Declare it. My cup runs over, because what I'm about to tell you next will show you exactly how this overflow is going to manifest in your life, starting today. Beloved, I need you to take a long, hard look in the mirror tonight, but not at your reflection. Look deeper. Look at who you've become, because the person staring back at you, that's not who you were 5 years ago. That's not even who you were 5 months ago. Something profound has shifted in the deepest chambers of your soul, and most of you don't even realize it yet. You see, while you were busy surviving, while you were just trying to make it through another doctor's appointment, another sleepless night, another family crisis, God was performing surgery on your spirit. Divine reconstruction, cellular regeneration at the soul level. The Bible tells us in Romans 12:2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Transformed, not improved, not adjusted. Transformed. That's metamorphosis language. Chosen one. Let me ask you something that might shake you. When was the last time fear controlled your decisions? Really? Think about that. Because I'll tell you what I see when I look at God's seniors today. I see people who've been through hell and came out speaking heaven's language. You used to lie awake at 3 a.m. worried about tomorrow. Now you sleep in supernatural peace, knowing who holds tomorrow. You used to beg God to change your circumstances. Now you thank Him for changing you through those circumstances. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened in the furnace. You went into that fire as clay, soft, moldable, fragile. You came out as a vessel of glory, hardened by divine heat. shaped by the master potter's hands. The very flames that were meant to consume you became the kiln that perfected you. Look at what fear used to do to you. Remember how it whispered lies about your future, your finances, your family. Fear made you small. It made you apologize for taking up space. It convinced you that your best days were behind you. But faith made you dangerous. Faith made you a threat to every demonic assignment against your bloodline. Faith turned you from a survivor into a thriver. Where you once saw obstacles, you now see opportunities. Where you once heard impossible, you now declare, I'm possible through Christ. Where you once felt forgotten, you now know you're chosen. This is not positive thinking, beloved. This is divine rewiring. Think about the caterpillar. Science tells us that inside the cocoon, the caterpillar doesn't just grow wings, it literally dissolves. Its entire cellular structure breaks down into what scientists call imaginal soup. Then, from that complete destruction, something entirely new emerges. Wings that were always encoded in its DNA, but hidden until the appointed time. You've been in your cocoon, haven't you? Those dark seasons when everything you thought you knew about yourself seemed to dissolve. Your old identity, your old limitations, your old fears, they melted away in the darkness, and you thought you were dying. But God was growing your wings. Those health scares that should have broken you, they grew wings of divine healing. Those financial disasters that should have destroyed you, they grew wings of supernatural provision. Those relationship betrayals that should have left you bitter, they grew wings of forgiveness that only heaven could manufacture. You are not just changing, chosen one. You are reborn. The person who entered this season of testing and the person emerging from it, they're not even the same species. One was earthbound, limited by human logic. The other has been kissed by eternity, marked by the divine, upgraded by the Almighty Himself. Your new identity isn't based on your age, your bank account, or your medical chart. It's based on Romans 8:17. You're a joint heir with Christ. That's royalty language. That's inheritance language. That's I belong to the King of Kings language. But here's what's going to shock you. Most people your age are still living from their old operating system. They're still running on fear-based programming from decades ago. They've accepted defeat as their portion. They've made peace with mediocrity. Not you. You've been debugged by the divine. Your spiritual software has been completely updated. You're now operating from heaven's mainframe, not Earth's limited network. This is why you feel different at family gatherings. This is why certain conversations don't satisfy you anymore. This is why you can't get excited about the same things that used to thrill you. You've been calibrated to a higher frequency. Your new identity carries authority that makes demons nervous. When you walk into a room now, the atmosphere shifts. When you pray now, heaven leans in. When you declare God's promises now, creation itself responds. You're not the same person who started reading this message. Something has awakened in you. Something has been activated. The old you would have scrolled past this by now. But the new you recognizes the voice of the shepherd, calling you higher. If you believe your rebirth starts tonight, if you can feel those new wings breaking through the cocoon of your old limitations, write I am new in the comments. Let your declaration echo through cyberspace and into the throne room of heaven. Because, beloved, your transformation isn't complete yet. What God has shown you about who you've become is just the appetizer. What He's about to reveal about where you're going will literally take your breath away. Your wings are dry, your flight plan is approved, and the runway of your destiny is cleared for takeoff. Your prayers didn't just change you, beloved. They changed bloodlines while you were weeping in that hospital room 20 years ago, begging God to spare your spouse. While you were on your knees at 3 a.m., interceding for your wayward child. While you poured out your heart for grandchildren not yet born. Heaven was taking notes. Recording every tear, banking every prayer, compounding every sacrifice. You thought you were just surviving. God was architecting generations. Look at your hands right now. Those weathered fingers that have folded in prayer 10,000 times. Those palms that have worked, sacrificed, given when you had nothing left to give. You see wrinkles and age spots. God sees the hands that planted oak trees under whose shade your great-grandchildren will play. The Bible declares in Psalm 112, "Your children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed." Not just your children, beloved, their children, and their children's children. Your midnight prayers are morning mercies for generations you'll never meet. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. You think your legacy is behind you. You look at your life and see what's finished, what's over, what's too late. You measure your worth by what you've already accomplished, instead of what you're still creating. That's a lie straight from hell. Your legacy isn't your resume. Your legacy isn't the house you built or the money you saved. Your legacy is the spiritual DNA you're transferring right now. Every prayer you pray today is programming tomorrow's miracles. Every act of faith you demonstrate is modeling courage for children who don't even know they need it yet. You want to know why God kept you here? Why you survived that heart attack when younger, healthier people didn't? Why you outlived the doctor's predictions? Why you're still sharp when others your age have faded? Because your assignment isn't finished. Your most important prayers haven't been prayed yet. That grandson struggling with addiction, he needs your intercession today, not yesterday. That daughter facing divorce, your prayers are the invisible strength holding her together. That great-granddaughter not yet born who will face trials you can't imagine. You're building her spiritual inheritance right now. Every tear you cried in silence is watering your family's tomorrow. Every battle you fought is armor they'll inherit. Every mountain you moved with faith is clearing their path to destiny. Abraham was 75 when God called him to leave everything. Moses was 80 when he confronted Pharaoh. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over baby Jesus. Your age isn't disqualification, it's preparation. You've been through enough fire to forge spiritual weapons your descendants will need. But here's the shocking truth that'll change how you see your remaining years. The prayers you pray today carry more weight than the prayers you prayed at 30. Why? Because now you know God's faithfulness. Now you've seen Him move mountains. Now you pray with authority, earned through decades of watching Him work. Your voice in the spirit realm isn't getting weaker, it's getting stronger. Heaven listens differently to grandparents than to children. Your prayers carry the weight of tested faith, proven character, survived storms. Think about this. What if your most important prayer is still in your mouth? What if the miracle your family desperately needs is waiting for you to speak it? What if God has been preparing you for 70, 80, 90 years to pray one prayer that will shatter generational curses and release generational blessings? You're not winding down, beloved. You're loading up. The oak tree takes 100 years to reach full maturity. Most people who plant them never sit in their shade, but they plant anyway, knowing someone will benefit. You've been planting spiritual oak trees your entire life. Your children are eating fruit from trees you planted. Your grandchildren are finding shade under branches you grew through your faithfulness. But here's what'll shock you. Your biggest oak tree is still growing. The legacy that will impact the most lives, touch the most hearts, break the most chains, it's not behind you. It's ahead of you. God saved His best assignment for your seasoned years. When most people are retiring from significance, He's promoting you to generational impact. When the world says you're done, heaven says you're just getting started. Your legacy isn't a monument to what was. Your legacy is a living force that's still expanding, still growing, still changing lives. Every day you wake up, you're adding to it. Every prayer you breathe, every blessing you speak, every act of faith you demonstrate, it's all legacy in motion. The devil tried to convince you that your best years are behind you because he knows the truth. Your prayers today have the power to reshape the next century of your bloodline. Your legacy is not behind you. Your legacy is still unfolding. If you believe your family will eat from trees you planted, if you know your prayers are still programming miracles for generations yet to come, type "My legacy lives" in the comments right now. Let heaven hear your declaration. Let your faith activate what God is still preparing to release through your life. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how God plans to multiply your legacy beyond anything you've dared to imagine. Beloved chosen one, as we come to the close of this sacred moment together, I need you to carry these truths with you like treasures in your heart. You didn't survive by accident. You passed every test, not because you were perfect, but because God's strength was made perfect in your weakness. Every storm you weathered, every mountain you climbed, every valley you walked through, it was all preparation for this moment when He reveals your true purpose. Remember this: your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. Your scars are not your shame, they're your credentials. Your years are not your burden, they're your blessing. You carry wisdom that can only be forged in the fires of experience, faith that can only be refined through decades of watching God work miracles. The legacy you're building isn't measured in years left, it's measured in lives touched, prayers prayed, and blessings released. Every breath you take is another opportunity to impact eternity. And hear me clearly, you are not walking this journey alone. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who raised the dead, that same God is walking with you today. He hasn't brought you this far to abandon you now. He hasn't sustained you through every storm just to let you drown in shallow water. But beyond God's presence, you have a community right here. In the comments below, I see brothers and sisters who understand your journey, who've walked similar paths, who are ready to stand with you in prayer. We are the body of Christ, and when one rejoices, we all rejoice. When one suffers, we all suffer. When one breaks through, we all celebrate. Let me ask you something that will echo in your spirit long after this video ends. If God has brought you through every valley up to this moment, what makes you think He'll stop being faithful now? Before you leave this sacred space, I want to pray over you. Not just words spoken into the air, but a covering of blessing, a declaration of breakthrough, a prophetic seal over your remaining years. Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, I come before your throne with every precious soul who has watched this message. Lord, you see them, not just their gray hair or their weary bodies, but their burning hearts, their unshakable faith, their legacy in motion. Father, I pray you would breathe new life into tired bones, ignite fresh fire in spirits that have weathered many storms. Give them dreams when the world says it's time to stop dreaming. Give them strength when their bodies feel weak. Give them hope when circumstances look impossible. Lord, open doors that no man can shut. Bring divine connections, supernatural provision, and miraculous breakthroughs. Let their remaining years be their most fruitful years. Let their sunset season be their most glorious season. Surround them with your favor like a shield. Protect their health, their minds, their families. Let every prayer they've prayed come back to them as blessings pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And Father, use their stories to encourage others. Let their testimonies become someone else's hope. Let their breakthrough become someone else's blueprint. We seal this prayer in the mighty name of Jesus, believing that what you have started, you will complete. Amen and amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share one thing God spoke to your heart during this message. Don't hold back, your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Ask your questions, share your struggles, declare your victories. This community is here to pray with you, encourage you, and celebrate with you. And if this message stirred something deep in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to remember they're not forgotten, they're not finished, they're not too old for God to use mightily. Share it with that friend who's feeling invisible, that family member who's lost hope, that neighbor who thinks their best days are behind them. Before you go, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a community of chosen ones supporting each other in faith. When you subscribe, you're saying, I belong here, I believe God is still working, and I want to be part of what He's doing. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Your presence, your time, your open heart, it all matters more than you know. You didn't just watch a video today. You participated in a divine appointment. Until we meet again, walk in the confidence of who you are, rest in the assurance of His love, and live in the expectation of breakthrough. You are chosen. You are loved. You are not finished. God bless you abundantly.